Before you proceed, please understand that this video is in fact satire and does not reflect my actual views on this subject. Guys, I have uncovered one of humanity's darkest secrets. Everyone, and I mean everyone, has an opinion about the patriarchy. There are those who support it unconditionally, who believe that men should just control women, like oppress women all they want. There are those who support it in the context of a Christian traditional patriarchy, where men lead and protect women. There are those who reject the patriarchy altogether and say that men should not be in charge. Now, there are then those who believe that there is no patriarchy and that it was destroyed in recent years by feminism. However, I would like to propose the unquestionably true proposition that the pre-1960s culture, as well as the lifestyles practiced by individuals such as conservatives and traditional Christians, is in fact actually a matriarchy, and that the parts of it that appear to be patriarchal are actually a psyop. That's right. For the last thousands of years, and still today in traditional households, women control everything. Everything. All those nice girls at mass wearing veils and whatnot, who just act really nice to you, they're really trying to marry you specifically so that they can control you using the same matriarchal system that their foremothers invented. Some may say that this is ridiculous, but any amount of research shows that all traditional gender roles are clearly matriarchal, even if they have men in charge officially. Take the following examples. Whenever there's a war, who cannot be touched in a traditional chivalric society? Women. They can't be killed. They can't even hardly be taken prisoner. It's like they're protected. And in fact, men will completely give their lives and die to protect women. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but that seems to me like it's pretty obvious that means that the takeaway is that women are worth more than men, and men are just inferior. In traditional cultures, men also have to open the door for women and let them do everything first, such as eat first. And women just get A-grade treatment, where men are just regarded as inferior beings. Now, some might claim that women get treated well, but men are the ones with control in traditional cultures. However, nothing could be further from the truth. Women control every aspect of men's life in traditional culture. In fact, they even control what their body is made out of. They control every single cell and manage every single cell in the male body. After all, women control men's diets, and you are what you eat. If you eat mashed potatoes and meatloaf every day, then your body takes proteins from mashed potatoes and meatloaf and converts them into the proteins used in your own body to make cells and keep going and just keep the body going. So if you eat meatloaf and mashed potatoes every day, then you are essentially made out of meatloaf and mashed potatoes. And so the more meatloaf and mashed potatoes you eat, the more you become meatloaf and mashed potatoes. Why do you think that women cook? Why do you think they do all the cooking? Or at least most of the cooking? Because they want to control what you are. They want to control what you eat and take into you and what makes up your body. So if your wife feeds you meatloaf and mashed potatoes every day, that means she's trying to make you into meatloaf and mashed potatoes. Now you can see the effects of this in the 1950s, when the matriarchy was actually at one of its strongest periods in history. So the prominent matriarchs decided that the best thing to be made of was meatloaf and mashed potatoes. So women around the country made the unilateral decision, without asking their husbands or even really telling their husbands, that their families needed to become made of meatloaf and mashed potatoes instead of whatever else they had been eating. So women around the country chose to serve almost exclusively meatloaf and mashed potatoes to their families. Thus, they were completely able to change the entire chemical makeup of these individuals, of their husbands and of their children. Now, some people will claim that men have power in alleged patriarchal societies, that men get to hold the political offices, they get to make important financial decisions for the family, they hold the jobs, they do things of that nature. But why do you think that is? If men didn't have to work all day, if we didn't have to have jobs, then we would be able to control our own diets. We'd be able to choose what we wanted to eat and put a lot of energy and thought into what we wanted our bodies to be composed of. Women denied us this opportunity by convincing us that we need to be the ones with jobs. So now that we go out there and work, we actually are dependent on them to make our health choices for us, and we can't decide what we can't even on our own. We can't even maintain a diet. We literally rely on them for our bodies to keep making cells and stuff. Seriously, you literally control everything about someone. Every single cell. You control every single cell. What do men control over women in a traditional society? Like, they can tell them, like, if they're doing something wrong, they can make them stop. Like, and that's great and all. But that's not power. That's not power. That's an illusion of power. What's power is controlling every single cell in your body, determining what kind of proteins it makes and how it functions. That is power. That is what women have in traditional societies. And thus, the patriarchy is just an elaborate psyop that women have created so that when men go to work every day, they no longer have the energy or time to control their own food intakes. And they tell us that we're like heads of households and that we hold all important positions in society, so that we don't realize that they're actually controlling us. We're going around dealing with like economic crap and stuff like that. And they are not only while they don't only control what we do, they control what we are. Now, some people might ask then, why feminism? Why did women revolt in the 1960s? Well, the problem was that women overplayed their hand. Women, by the 1950s, they had consolidated power over men pretty much entirely. They had successfully turned their men into 95% meatloaf and mashed potatoes. And so they had pretty much gotten their formula down. But a few women were like, what if we could control the economy as well, on top of already controlling men's chemical composition? Obviously, the economy was small fry once they'd already gotten where they were. It was just like icing on the cake. But they still wanted it anyway. And unfortunately for them, it backfired big time. Once women started getting jobs, they no longer had the time to completely control men's chemical composition by completely controlling their diet. And so they lost their power, is what happened. Women lost their power in the 1960s and 70s. And so, like, why do you think there are anti-feminist women? What do you think is up with all the girls wearing veils in church? Okay, what do you think's up with that? It's because their families, their foremothers, didn't try to control the economy. They're like, I'm going to hold on to the power I've got because I know that I have like the most power of anyone in the world. So I'm going to hold on to that. And they taught their daughters to do so as well. And so you still have women out there who are still in on the matriarchy. But these women who are descended from those who failed to gain economic power are the ones who have their ancestors' failure imprinted on their heads. You know, they're the ones who see the world as not being in the control of women because their ancestral women failed. Whereas anti-feminist women, their ancestors were able to control their power, were able to keep their control and their power. And these young ladies want to continue doing so. And that's why they do things like learn how to cook and wear veils to mass and stuff like that. Anyway, that's all. Just need y'all to know that the patriarchy is definitely a psyop. There never was a patriarchy. Women are always They control everything. Every cell in your body is there because a woman chose what you ate.